Welcome to Cinema Talk, where we sit down with film lovers and cinephiles from all over and ask them the hard-hitting questions about their favorite films. I'm your host, Ty. Today, I want to take the time out and introduce our first guest on the podcast, Jaden Gray. Gray is a junior video arts major at the University of Southern Mississippi who loves video games and editing for his YouTube channel and friends. He's an avid movie watcher and goes to the local theater at least twice a week. He has racked up this 20 films watched this year. Welcome, Jaden.
Hey Ty, how's it going?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm glad to be here. I love talking about movies. This is like my forte. So I'm excited to be here, and I'm glad that you invited me on.
So let's just jump straight into it. You talked about your favorite movie of all time is Nope, directed by Jordan Peele, which we both actually seen together. For a little backstory, Nope is directed by Jordan Peele and is this science fiction horror film that explores themes of spectacular exploitation and human fantasy. And this extraordinary story about siblings attempting to capture evidence of a UFO. Um, can you just tell me what scene from the movie did you really enjoy visually?
One scene that I enjoyed visually in this movie was the actual UFO itself, the flying saucer itself, and them actually trying to capture it. And one of my favorite scenes in this movie was when Kiki Palmer and Daniel Kaluuya they were on the porch and they found a way to capture the alien digitally, and like they were excited. They gave each other, like, they did their hand clap, and I really resonated with that because I have a sister as well, and it just showed that their chemistry, their sibling chemistry. And one thing in this film that they emphasized a lot was being on Oprah, being on the Oprah show, being getting this evidence so that they can, I guess, like, get rich, get money, and get that exposure, because after the death of their father, um the farm that they were on, like, it was like their father led everything, so it was kind of on the decline, so they needed something. And the brother, he was really closed, and the sister, she was very, like, closed off, and the sister, she was very expressive and open and stuff like that. So that was probably one of my favorite scenes visually, one of my favorite scenes emotionally in that movie. And I think that them, like, those two siblings symbolize um people who are just trying to make it, in life, and especially black people, because automatically, like, we're put on the back burner. And I just feel like that they had to work so hard just to get this evidence of this alien, but just in the end, for people probably not to believe them, you know
Yes, I really enjoyed the siblings dynamic throughout this film. Now, I don't have a sister, but I do have a bunch of brothers. And so I kind of get that feeling of, working together, being together. Even, siblings, they go through their troubles, they argue, they have different opinions. But in the movie, it kind of shows how all of that is put on the back burner to come together to, do what's right and, just be there for your family. I know that you mentioned Peele is one of your favorite directors of all time, and in this film, he took kind of a different approach to his usually directed films such as Us and Get Out, but he focused on sci-fi in this film. Yet most of the sci-fi aspects, such as the UFO and the sighting, it was kind of left ambiguous. It really wasn't answered. Do you think that was a direct choice from Peele, or does it add to the film ambiguous aspect?
I think it's a little bit of both, because leaves the it leaves it up to the viewer for interpretation. What they want to make out, what they think the message is for this movie, what they want the end story to be, for, like, the end goal for this movie to be. So I think it's a little bit of both. And for me, I know, like, how I interpret it, and some people interpret it differently. So, and that's what I really love about Peele's movies, because although it's kind of like his movies are very, very cryptic, and he leaves a lot of things open for viewer interpretation, so people can, debate and argue and ask questions about, certain parts, or endings to his movies.
Great explanation. Peele loves diving into that surrealist moment of films and making people question what they actually saw. Speaking of questioning what you actually saw, the opening scene of the film is a talk show, and the monkey is like one of the kind of like an exhibit for the audience members and the host. But something really graphic, which we're not going to talk about in this podcast, but something really graphic happened in the scene, and a lot of people felt like it was unneeded or questioning what was the purpose of that scene. Can you kind of explain what you think that scene meant towards the film?
I feel like as humans, we kind of find the monetary value in things that we don't understand or things that we feel like we have power over. In this movie specifically, exploitation is a very big concept in this movie that applies to the monkey and the alien. And even though they are portrayed as the antagonist in this movie, they're also the victims as well of human exploitation. And if you think about it, they are kind of in the same boat as us humans that we're alike. We're more alike than we think. You know, just like us, if we're doing something against our will, we're innately gonna rebel. That's just like how any living creature is, whether it's quote unquote alien or monkey. So I feel like that despite them being portrayed as the bad guys, the villains, the antagonists, they are victims in a way.
Yes, I do think exploitation is one of the many themes that this film displays, especially when it comes to black artists and filmmakers, and I think one of the film's main themes is kind of like that critique on Hollywood when it comes to black artists. Do you feel like that movie tackles that perception well?
Absolutely, because I feel like as Black Americans, our culture is exploited as well. Um, I think that um, whenever you see anything regarding Black culture, it's just it's mainstream. It's streamed to the public, and everybody's trying to be a part of Black culture. And it kind of sucks for us because we were the creators of it, but it's like people are taking our culture, our work, and and just like and putting us on the back burner, like I said before. You know what I'm saying? And you see that in the movie when they were on set with the horses and stuff like that. And you see all the set with they're on set with all these white people, and they're looking at them crazy, and they're just they're looking at them like they don't know what they're doing, but they don't know, like they're not knowledgeable on their profession, and then looking at the brother crazy because he's telling them that like they shouldn't do this or they shouldn't do that, and but they're just like ignoring him and trying to shape it into their own thing. But it just ultimately is not, it's not like that. And we can kind of direct that into real life where um it's when people try to replicate our culture, but when they do that, it's not as good, or it's just like a cheap knockoff.
Yeah, totally. I completely agree with you. All this talk about Jordan Peele just has me thinking, what is next? What do we have coming up next for, this very, very profound director? And my next question is, are you expecting more from Jordan Peele? Do you expect any more sci-fi kind of black exploitations film from him?
Absolutely. There's so many things that needs to be spoken on, and that I feel like Peele would do a great job directing. And it's the same as Ryan Coogler, one of my other favorite directors. And but back to Peele, I feel like there's so much more to talk about as far as the black experience, because when I watch a Peele film, you see a very a lot of abundance of white people in his movies. And it's like it's showing them what it's like, he's showing us like what it's like to be black in America, because we are the minority in this country, and we a lot of black people find themselves in scenes where they might be the only black person. They might be the one out of like two or three black people in a scene, and it's a weird environment for them because we're just looked at differently because of our skin color, because of how we walk, how we talk, how we dress. So I definitely feel like in future projects, I feel like there's so much more that needs to be spoken on, and he does it in a scary, spooky sci-fi way, and I love that. The entertainment aspect of that. That's what I think is very um, unique about Jordan Peele.
Yeah, one thing I really love about Jordan Peele is that his tackle on fear is looked through the black lens. It's not a unique universal type of fear where you're scared of aliens, you're scared of monsters. You're really scared of the universe that you live in. I think Peele does a great job capturing that sense of fear within, black Americans. But that's all I have for today, guys. Thank you once again, Jaden, for coming out and speaking on my podcast. If you guys enjoyed this conversation today, make sure you follow me on all podcast services at Cinema Talk. I'm your host, Ty, and until next time, keep watching great films and keep the conversation alive.